That's another way to get rid of it. Alright, so let's put this on. And we are live. Okay, I'm gonna call the Public Utilities meeting to order. Ron Corselli.
Here.
Rick Bays.
I'm here.
And Lori Goman here. So tonight we're gonna call this meeting so we can meet with Jennifer Johnson and she can discuss with us and review with us the aqua water rates. So.
Would you like me to be standing somewhere?
I guess you could sit right there at the table.
That'd be great. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
I haven't seen some of you in a little while. So thanks for having me, Lori, thank you.
Thank you.
So there's a summary and it just got passed out or is in your packet that I'm gonna review. And give you a little background on what's transpired so far and what the next steps would be. So, just to refresh your memory, and I'm pretty sure this council was in effect, the same people around the table were here 4 years ago, which is hard to believe it's been 4 years. So the last time we negotiated a rate agreement was in 2021. So that rate agreement expires at the end of this year. And so we have traditionally, and this has been going on for 30 plus years, negotiate water rates with all the municipalities that we serve in Mahoning County in lieu of filing a rate case with the Public Utility Commission of Ohio. We're still a regulated utility, so we're regulated by both the Ohio EPA and the Public Utilities Commission. It's just a different way to set rates. And then I mentioned that the current rate agreement that we negotiated in 21 is going to expire. So the negotiating rates locally, it gives Aqua and our local community leaders the ability to formulate a local capital improvement plan and a rate design without the cost and the constraints of filing a rate case with the PUCO. I mentioned we're still regulated. So it allows us to set a capital plan. We look at the improvements that are needed to the system to keep the system in compliance, keep reliability of service, keep good service, and then we could spread that out over 4 years, and we're not constrained if we need to spend a little more in 1 year and a little less in another year. We have that flexibility since we set the capital plan and with the communities. At the end of this current rate agreement period, we had promised the last time around that we would invest at least $28 million in capital improvements. And after this year, we will have invested over $33 million in capital improvements to the local water system. And another fact that I like to point out is because we're a private utility, we pay property taxes. It's just our assets, you can't see them all. A lot of them are underground, so it's hard to see all the assets we have. I mean, we have, over 3,000 fire hydrants, over 300 miles of main in the ground. So we paid over $11 million in property taxes to Mahoning County over the last 4 years that covers this rate plan. So we held negotiations on July 29th. We had very good representation this time. We invite every community that falls under the rate plan. Some communities choose to send somebody, some don't. I think we had every one but I think 2 townships, but I had been in contact with them ahead of that. We originally came in with a capital plan and an ask of 5.5% each year for the next 4 years. And some of the background that I gave the group that evening is that, I don't think it's almost stating the obvious that things cost a lot more than they did, 4 years ago. We're conscious of that. We're also conscious of what that means for our ratepayers. Companies are feeling it, consumers are feeling it. So we have to strike a balance, and we understand that. We do have some pretty large capital projects coming up, one being Hamilton Dam. The spillway at Hamilton Dam needs upgraded, and that's a Ohio Department of Natural Resources requirement. We've been kind of kicking that can down the road as much as we can. And it's come to the point where we have to do it. It's not an imminent danger at all. We would never let that happen, but there's certain requirements. They call it the 100-year flood, requirements, and the spillway needs to be brought up to that standard. We're in the middle of design right now for that, and that's going to be somewhere around a $9 million project. So our annual capital budget is usually between $9 and $12 million a year. So I'm just trying to put it in perspective, like a project of that size you know, that takes up a good chunk, you know, of that capital budget, and we don't wanna neglect other things, like our treatment plant, getting the lead lines out of the system, you know, being able to replace main and fix main breaks, so, it's a balancing act for sure, so. We had originally come in and asked for 5.5 each year, it is a negotiation, so we, you know, went back and forth with the group in attendance a couple times. We're gonna be able to keep capital pretty close to what I said. I said we had to adjust a little bit, you know, but we're still committed to putting in about $40 million, which is again, you know, that's $7 million more than what we had in the last group plan. And we ended up with 5, 5, 5.25, 5.25. What I think is important, and the group I think likes to see it presented this way, is percentages, you know, are one thing, but what's that really mean, you know, to our customers? Our average customer, our average residential customer is about 3,400 gallons a month. I use 3,900 gallons a month just because that's the number we use every year, and I just want to be consistent with that when we're looking at comparisons. So that table below there shows you a monthly bill example of, and you'll see what the rate per 1,000 gallons would be and what the customer charge base rate would be. And so the monthly bill impact to that 3,900 gallon a month bill is under $4 a month, and it starts out at under $3 a month, and then another $3, you know, $3. So, you know, we're looking at, in the highest year, you know, an extra $36 a year in the water bills, but still allowing us to get in that level of capital investment to keep the system in compliance and keep it reliable.
So Jen, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I'm reading this right too.
Mhm.
So basically every year it's a $3 raise, a $3.13
Per
raise,
month.
$3.44 per month.
Yes,
Correct.
yes,
Correct.
yes.
So your bill over that whole time might change in 4 years about $12 a month.
Yes,
Correct?
yes, so if you add it up, yes, you add those,
Yeah.
so over, at the end of 4 years, from today to
So
the end of 4 years.
Your bill will have gone up $12 a month.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, yes, no, that's a good way to look at it too in total.
Well, plus, you know, the people at home that are watching this, they're
Yeah.
not looking at this.
Oh, I hear you, 'cause it's
So
on,
that's why
yeah.
I'm kind of just trying to convey it to them the easiest way.
Yes, yes, no, that's a
But
good
that's
way to
not,
put it.
that's over the course of 4 years.
Correct.
Yeah, that's over
Yeah.
4 years.
So the
So
first
not
year,
every
your
year
bill's
it's
gonna go, roughly gonna go up less than $3 a month the first year.
Right.
Yeah.
$3 more the second, a little over $3 the third, and over $3 the fourth, so.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, we would like to tell you, and I know Jen, they wanted 5.5% to start. So it's very nice to work with a company that's able to work with us and kind of, because like people are complaining about electric now, that's a big thing. We don't get that opportunity to work with them. So it's very nice that you sit down with us, that you involve us and get us to kind of feel like we're doing something for the community as well. So we started out at 5.5, we were able to get the 5.0, 5.0, and 5.25, 5.25. So,
And we just, you know, we have to shift some capital around a little bit, but I was able to look at it and say, you know, I still think we're gonna be right around 40 million in capital over the next 4 years. That includes Hamilton Dam, that includes, we are committed over the next 3 to 5 years to get all lead service lines out of the system. That's not necessarily a priority in every community. It's definitely a priority in Struthers, Camel, Lowville, parts of Poland Village. Those are the areas where, just because of the age of the homes
Sure.
and the age of the plumbing, where the lead is. We also are committed to continue to invest in our treatment plant, and that impacts everybody. You know, so the treatment plant's in Poland Township, but that's the water that serves all 24,000 customers that fall under this rate plan. And I wanted to bring that up just as a reminder. So there's 11 municipalities, if you include the county, that are involved in this rate plan. They're listed there at the bottom of the summary. And this is, you know, and Camel's now part of this, and I wanted to bring that up. When we bought the city of Camel, we negotiated a separate rate plan with them. They were actually a little higher than the rest of the division for the first 4 years. And that was on purpose. You know, there were certain things that needed done in Camel. The plan was always to get them up to where we are here and roll them into the next rate negotiation, so the rates are uniform across all the municipalities now. They're covered under this agreement. So Camel's part of this as well,
Okay.
and they had sent representation to the negotiation meeting. So the other thing, you know, I always point out, and it was in my presentation to them, if you take that, you know, those monthly bill amounts and divide it by 3,900 gallons, you really, it's a penny a gallon, you know, for water. And, you know, it's kind of, I like to have some fun with that and compare that to what you can get, what's it cost you per gallon. But it's in reality, this is all the water that people use to, all the basic necessities of life, you know, that you use water for. It's not a luxury item. I guess if you're watering your flowers, that's a little bit of luxury.
Well,
but
if you go to the store and buy a gallon, it's 150 times that amount.
Correct,
So.
correct. Next steps, and then I'll take questions, of course. I drafted ordinances and resolutions for the townships, ordinances for the cities and villages. They're asking that they consider those. That's what enacts the rates into legislation. Once all the townships have agreed to the rate plan, the county will consider the resolution that adopts the rates for all the townships. So it's kind of a little of a balancing act now between now and the end of the year. We got to get all the legislation through, and that's what officially sets the rates. The negotiation is really, that's an informal agreement, if you will. It's the legislation that actually makes the rates, you know, law, if you will. And then we file the rates with the Public Utilities Commission, and then they just become part of the tariff. So all the rules and regulations and everything that govern us are part of that tariff. And then the rates that we get passed through legislation just becomes part of that tariff.
Does the commission give you any problems with you negotiating your own rates?
They don't, and it's because they're in line. When they look at everything, like, we're not earning anything above and beyond what they would grant if we went to the commission and file a rate case. You know, I'm not saying that never is where this goes. You know, we go along this path as long as it makes sense, you know, for all parties. You know, it may come a time when it makes more sense to roll us into a bigger pot, you know, with the rest of Aqua Ohio, because, you know, that's was getting a little tough now, is that this capital plan is just for this, you know, for this area, and we're spreading that across. 24,000 customers isn't a terrible number to spread it across. But as things get more expensive and the needs become greater, it may come a time where we say, you know what, the other alternative is better.
Sure.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I almost did that for you. I'm sorry.
I know you're saying you're the chairman. I'm not used to running a meeting.
I'm not used to this being somebody else's meeting. But you're doing good.
It's all me, okay. No questions? No, again, Jen, I really appreciate, I think that was nice, you know, getting us all together and doing what you did, so.
Very good, thank you. I appreciate working with you all.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Good job, Jen.
Motion to adjourn,
Motion. Second.
meeting adjourned.
We are rolling through it.
Thanks.
We're in the finance and legislation. Okay, I'd like to call this finance and legislation meeting to order. Mr. Burnside here. Mr. Ballack here. Mr. Bigley is here. We have 3 pieces on here tonight. Let's just roll right into the first one. And it is an ordinance establishing rates at which Aqua Ohio Inc. shall furnish water to the city of Struthers and its inhabitants, therefore, and during the term commencing January 1st, 2026 and extending through December 31st, 2029. Motion to bring it out?
Motion to bring it out?
Second? Second that. That is brought out. Okay, next one is an ordinance vacating the alley located east of South Bridge Street and between the properties located at 126 South Bridge Street and 30 South Bridge. This is from the mayor. Do you want to speak on this?
Sure, I can. So this is the alleyway in between Brian Colombo's 2 buildings, Sela, and the one he just purchased. I know he was here discussing this. I don't think we just never followed through, never did the vacation of the alleyway. He owns either side of the property, and for everything that he's doing in downtown Struthers, this is, I know council, we spoke about this, he was here already, he's more than willing to come back if needed.
Brian's definitely lived up to his part of the agreement. Plus, I feel that is, we can't use it.
We cannot.
And I really feel like that's going to help his business down there between the two.
And it'll help with the liquor license too as well. So as long as he owns the property, so as long as they're conjoining. And I believe we had Frank come to that meeting as well, so we have no lines, nothing underneath that.
He's doing a great job down there. There's no way he's around. Okay, motion to bring it up.
Wait, before you leave it, Pat, before gotta get something from him signed saying that he's okay with this. I know it's just a
Oh.
formality,
Okay,
but we need to get something, cause it does require that, otherwise it's gonna require a notice.
okay,
So at least we can say that we have something, cause I noticed that the properties are owned by two separate, what appear to be two separate companies. And I know they're both his, and I don't know if it's just,
That could be a tag, or that could be a insurance liability, or it could be anything that you
it could really be two companies, it could be the same company, just the names, how it was put on the deed are wrong, but whatever, I think we should have something from him,
acknowledging this?
acknowledging that he
is taking
is
ownership
taking
of the property.
ownership of the property.
Okay, I can have him just type something up.
Yes,
And then we'll be liable for the property moving forward. The city will no longer be liable, all liability
all
will
he
fall
needs to
on
do is acknowledge that he was made aware of the city's intention to vacate the alley.
Okay. Motion to bring it up.
Motion to bring up.
Second?
Second.
Okay, last one is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. This is from
Motion to bring up.
second.
Second.
Okay, that's it for legislation. What else we got for this evening?
Council all has a copy of something about gardens to review.
Okay.
We talked about this before we went on recess, and also the code enforcement report. So if you guys want to look at that and see if there's anything you want to change, if you want to edit anything, add anything, take away anything, everybody should have a copy of both of those.
These reports, we're gonna read, this is a copy of like what we will
That's
receive.
just like an example of what we can give Bill just to fill out, even if he just has to hit print on his spreadsheet to like show us, whatever, but I just thought it would be at least an idea of what we would expect in the report.
Sounds good.
You wanna bring it up next week? Or
I mean, it could, if anybody has questions on it, if anybody wants to look at it, I don't know,
I think everybody should probably
Take this
yeah,
home.
absolutely.
chew on this and just not bring it out right now, just chew
Well, I
on it.
would say we take it home and go over it, highlight what you need to
Yeah.
highlight. We can always do it in committee next week if it's something you want out right away.
Yeah,
If I could too, I know Bill was at the last meeting and he agreed to do this. So
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah.
anything he needs, I can have him look over it.
yeah, if he wants to add or take away anything,
Yeah. 'Cause Bill, honestly, when he was here, had good ideas for
Yeah.
some of the things, so run it by him and, you know,
No, you have it.
work in conjunction on this.
also, the garden thing, this is like,
One of these ones.
I would call it like pretty much common sense, but you guys can look at it too and see if you want to put any stipulations in there. Change or take away, whatever.
I think we need to pass something like this now. Because I drive around and I see people that don't have gardens in their yard, and their yards are a mess. I can just imagine what it would look like with a garden in it.
If I could, there are some, like, I'm still not understanding, like, even gardening, where do you draw the line when it comes to that? Like, I have an officer that has 2 apple trees in his front yard. So you're gonna tell him he's gonna get cited for his apple trees because he eats apples off of the tree?
No, it says in here, cultivated area, vegetables, fruits, or crops, so I mean,
The tree wouldn't
Consider
define
it tree,
the
yeah,
cultivated
yeah.
area.
So even though he's eating the apples off,
No, I wouldn't say that's a
It's not a garden,
No.
a tree is
cultivated area.
you can add that in here too, doesn't mean trees.
Yeah, this is a jumping off point.
Exactly.
All right, how does it relate to the community garden? The community garden, all those gardens are in the front yard of those properties.
Well, that's designated for a community garden, it's
Yeah,
got a
I was
big
gonna say
sign
that's
that
on
says
property,
community
right?
garden.
Well, it says community garden, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has the, that it doesn't fall under the stipulations of
I would
garden.
Well, we
It's fenced in and,
community gardens.
yeah, we could put that in the ordinance, that's what I would probably do.
I would
but
think-
also so the council's aware, I think we only have 4 front yard gardens in the entire city. And there are, that's your opinion,
Yeah,
that's not,
I mean, it's a lot of people's opinion, actually.
I just don't
I
think
would
that
say-
it belongs in the city.
I just
I-
also,
I-
I'm
I
also aware there have been lawsuits against cities for putting ordinances like this in place, and people have cashed in on millions of dollars. In Florida, for example, this was put into place where there was no front yard gardens, they turned around and sued and won millions of dollars from the city.
I don't
Bring that to
understand
the
if we put it in an ordinance, how does that work like that? Explain that to me. If it's
John,
our,
you see that being the case?
if it's our law
I'm not
for the
aware of any
city,
lawsuits, I mean, I'd have to,
I can print it and bring it
Is
to
it
the
like
next meeting.
just one, or is it like millions of lawsuits?
I mean, do you go on Maplewood and see that house?
Mhm.
You think it's
I'm not talking
okay?
about Maplewood, I'm talking about the bottom of like either Spring or Wilson, one of those. I mean, you can't even see the front.
Well, spring is,
Okay,
that's with all the pots, like big pots, and you can't see the house, and it's pretty bad.
I don't know that one.
So, I mean, I can see, like, we can work on this a little bit and maybe make it,
that's what I said, this
you
is
know.
just a gray area, but like, I thought we have talked about this for 5 years now,
6.
6
Probably
years.
6, because we
Six.
brought it up during
I
COVID,
mean,
and people couldn't find food.
Like, an ongoing thing, so.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, John, you could look into that. see.
certainly will.
I mean,
I
I'm
don't-
curious
that's my
on that. I mean, I wouldn't want anything to happen to the city either, but I just don't believe in a front yard garden. I have a garden, you know, I don't. I actually have some stuff on the side of my house.
Like neon blue houses. Are we gonna ban neon blue houses?
Cat, I'll
Like
be honest with you, though, some cities do.
I know.
Yeah.
but
I'm not
what-
saying
tell
we,
me
I'm
what
not saying
city-
that's a pathway for us.
Find one city that has a front yard garden and find one. I asked you, try to find one city that has a ban on front yard gardens.
Well, if we would enforce maybe some of the things we have in there already for some of these that
Yeah.
look terrible, then we wouldn't have to have a front yard garden, like ordinance, but we don't enforce it.
Well, that's
Well,
because that's a gray area
So
too, like the
what if
eyesore
we
thing.
pass something on the aesthetics of how the front yard looks as far as in the city?
We have that, but that's also a gray area because it's, what do you prefer? What do you think?
But that's what I'm
looks
saying,
Well,
we're,
we
we're
need to make
fine
it
with
more
the
of a-
gray area.
lot
Well,
of
my
gray area.
house on Center Street,
Yeah, which we talked to John about today too.
yeah, that's a mess. But she says they're plants.
Yeah, and as far as things not looking nice and things that we would or wouldn't do, there are so many things that go on in the city. Whether it's somebody that leaves their Halloween decorations up all year long, people don't think that looks good. I'm not saying that it's me. I'm just you know, putting it out there. Using blow-ups at Christmas time in the daytime, it looks like a bunch of wet blankets laying in people's yards, that people complain about that. You know, where do we draw the line with this kind of stuff? You know, when, you know, where it's like, it's ruining our city, it makes our city look terrible.
Jim, I'll be honest, I'm with you 100%, because if you let it go, then people will have somebody will have an issue on every single thing at every house in the whole city, correct?
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
at somewhere, there is a line.
Yes.
We need to figure out where that line is. You know, and
Is
I-
that
But it's
line,
for
that
properties
front
in
yard
the
gardens.
city.
That's what I'm
Within
being
the
honest about.
ordinance.
I agree. If we took every single complaint that everybody has
Right.
a gripe about, we would be after every single house in the whole city. Somebody has a problem with every one of them. There's no doubt about
Well,
that.
then-
Yeah.
But we do need to find a line.
We can-
I'm not
we
saying
can-
that this is it.
Right.
I'm saying we need to have a discussion
we
and
can-
figure out where that line is. But somewhere along this, it is our job to set a line.
Yeah.
We got tasked with that.
Sure,
And-
we can set regulations though as far as seasonal decorations, cause cemeteries have it.
Yeah.
They throw it away if it's just still up after a certain day.
So what if a
Yeah.
skeleton has on a Santa hat? Or a skeleton has on a St. Patrick's Day
Well, then that
hat?
would
'Cause we have
become,
in
that
our
would
city.
become a seasonal thing, that would be a Santa Claus
So that's
skeleton.
Okay.
You know,
I mean,
we're gonna
we're
need
not
to figure
going
out
that
somewhere
far,
to set
but,
some
you know,
type of line.
You can nitpick
Well-
on
Yeah,
everything.
Well, that's what I
It's like
mean,
a
it's like, you know,
slippery slope.
we're talking about 4 front yard gardens, you know, and it's like, you know, when you look at all the things that you can drive in throughout the community and look at, you can complain about a lot of different things.
Agreed.
You know, so it's like, where do we stop? You know, where do we stop, where do we stop telling people what they can and what they can't do with their houses? And, you know, when I was a kid, growing up, I don't know of, I can't think of any yards that had mulch or much of a landscaping or anything like that. And I hear about how terrible the city looks now with all these different things. When I was a kid, it was, people didn't take care of their yards the way that they try to a lot of people try to manicure them, and I don't think everybody has got on that train, so to speak, to say that, you know, I want mulch and I want this and I want that and I want my yard to look pristine. You know, a lot of people, they don't feel that way about their yards.
Yeah, but I think a few bad apples are ruining the whole bushel, because I feel if you feel like you're obligated, I should dress up my yard, then take care of it,
Yeah.
if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, because I disagree. I think people took care of their stuff a lot better before than they do.
Oh, I know that they didn't, because Jake's house.
Yeah.
The garage, you couldn't go in the garage. Everybody was worried about it was going to fall down. You know, their front yard. We found a marijuana plant that was 4 feet tall.
No, there's
that we didn't even know was there.
But we are trying to improve the city.
Yeah.
We're not trying to keep it in its current
And it
state.
is a city.
I
It's
mean,
not,
we are trying to improve it, correct? I mean,
No. What I'm saying is that things have evolved, you know, over the years, that now it's important for a lot of people to go get mulch, myself included. I got 7 yards of mulch this year that I spread. You know, to me, it's important.
sure.
But you take care of it.
I do. But a lot of people don't have that mentality about their yards.
But we're not
and-
saying people for not having mulch. We're not saying them for that.
No, but I mean, an unsightly yard, which, you know, which might mean that they have, I don't know, you drive around and you can find all kinds of things
Sure.
that aren't.
I'm not
that
disagreeing
aren't
with you. I'm really
visually
not.
appealing.
I'm really not, but I do feel like somewhere in this, we are the governing body who does have to draw a line somewhere.
Right.
I don't know that it is beyond front yard gardens. I don't know if it's in front of front yard gardens.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I don't either.
I get what you're saying. I don't want to tell everybody how to live their life. I don't want to tell everybody how they have to keep their property.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, but there is a line somewhere here that we have to find.
And
I
but
mean,
you guys get all the complaints, as do I, of this yard is bad, this yard is bad. You guys hear all that all the time. What I'm hearing is opposite from the people, from the community. When American Bloom, a national company, comes in town and we drive around for 4 hours throughout the community, and they are complimenting how well everybody in Struthers takes care of their yards. And when they see a front yard garden, how they like the front, they're promoting front yard gardens. They are trying to encourage people
yeah, but they
to
also don't
plant
live
first
here.
yard gardens.
as a
Yeah.
neighbor.
They don't
have
live
I know,
here.
but these
This
are
is a
people that are
city,
going
not a
all,
township
and it's not a
like yours.
homeowners association either.
Well,
No, it's not.
it's not,
That's
but
right.
it is
You're
a city,
100%
and we
correct.
do
But
have.
We have
We do
people
have-
from that are traveling the nation at all these little tiny communities and cities that are saying how good Struthers looks and how nice it is to come here to see everybody who has manicured lawns. And we have a group of gardeners who went around and gave door
Did you-
hangers to people
gonna
who
be
had
honest.
nice.
You had them come here, and you were riding around, and you had a meeting with them.
I took them past Maplewood.
No, I get it, but do you think they were gonna tell you, this looks terrible?
Yeah.
I
That's
don't,
their
So did they
job.
just
I
go
understand,
around?
I don't think
But
that they
their
were gonna
job-
come to you and say, this place, terrible.
Their job is
I don't
to
see it.
analyze those things and put that together in a report.
I think somewhere along the line here, we are the governing body that draws the line in the
Yes,
sand.
I agree.
We have to figure out where that line is, being fair on both sides. I don't wanna tell people
Right.
what to do with every aspect of their yard, I don't. But
But it's
we
not
are
fair
gonna
for
have to
other
make,
people.
With this.
Just manicure it
we
properly.
are going
Make it
to
look
have
neat.
So
to.
that's the thing, like, people don't, like, they just, and like, the
Gotta make
neighbors
it
call
look
us and they're
neat.
like, oh, this neighbor looks like this, look, and we go past, we're like, yeah, it does look like crap, like,
No, I mean, but again, you don't wanna take, Jimmy is right in the sense, you don't wanna take it too far.
no.
To the point where you're nitpicking every person, because
Absolutely.
everybody complains about everybody
But
else,
like we
it's
said,
just what happens.
like we said last time we were in session, we have the catch-all, but it's not really a catch-all because it depends on who's enforcing it.
Well-
So there's stipulations that need to be put in apparently that are black and white.
weed your garden. I remember my old man used to be in the backyard, weeding his whole garden out, just
Yeah,
making
weeding
sure.
the garden.
I would say we
making
take
sure
this
it
home
was-
and go over it,
You could walk
highlight
through
what
it.
you wanna highlight, think about what's important to you in here and what
Sure.
isn't, and then let's go back over it.
If I can add something. So I looked, and it says, the prominent no front yard garden lawsuit in Florida involved Hermine Ricketts and Tom Carroll against the Village of Miami Shores. In 2019, the couple's 6-year legal battle ultimately led to a statewide law protecting residents' right to grow vegetables on their own property. So, in 2013, Miami Shores Village Council amended its zoning ordinances to prohibit front yard vegetable gardens, deeming them unsightly. Ricketts and Carroll had been growing vegetables in their front yard for 17 years because their backyard was too shady. Facing a potential fine of $50 per day, they dug up their garden and sued the village with representation from the public interest law firm, blah, blah, blah. The couple lost at the trial court and appellate levels. The appellate court agreed with the village that distinguishing between ornamental plants and edible ones was a legitimate government purpose. The Florida Supreme Court declined to hear the case, so then the couple shifted gears and they focused their efforts on the state legislature. In 2019, the Florida legislature passed a law which prohibits local governments from banning vegetable gardens on residential property. So if you have a case, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to see it. I mean, but I'll keep looking. That was just the first thing I stumbled upon.
So the state of Florida made it
The state made it illegal for local communities to do it.
Okay.
We don't live in
So,
Florida.
do you think the state, I mean, that's fine, I mean, if they, I just feel that we need to do something for some of these it's pretty unsightly. I mean, if I lived across the street from it, I wouldn't wanna live
Well,
there.
don't we have any ordinances in place that can address that?
And that's what I'm saying.
You know, and if we
If
do,
But we need to enforce
why aren't they
them.
being enforced?
That's the problem.
You know?
The problem, and I think Megan brought it up, the problem sometimes is, I don't know if there is an ordinance other than that, what I always refer to as the catch-all, that can be used in this particular situation. I don't. The problem with the catch-all is, there is a lot of subjectivity to it, you know, and it makes it sometimes difficult to enforce.
It's not that I disagree with what you're saying, but the person who gets tasked with enforcing it has to then draw that line, and then the court takes the other portion of that.
That's
If I
correct.
cite you,
Correct.
you go to court and you have your time to argue your case.
Correct.
But if the person who's tasked with enforcing that or citing that is always gonna err on the side of, well, what looks
The
good to
gray
some
area.
people doesn't look
Yeah.
good to others, then it's never gonna get enforced.
I agree. I mean, look, the
Yeah.
police
But
can
how
cite
is
anything they want, it's ultimately going to come in
To the court, yeah.
I get that part, but it still makes it difficult to even prosecute in a court sometimes. I'm not really using this particular example as the reason why it's always difficult to enforce, but there are situations where we in the past where we've relied on the catch-all, and it's just an extremely difficult thing to present in a court. So it just is, where if you have something, and again, I'm not advocating for a prohibition against front yard gardens one way or another. I'm just saying the catch-all does make it difficult.
And I'll be honest, in the past, at least a dozen times, I've sat here and said, we can't continue to make laws based on 2 or 3 people in the city. That is true. So I'm not saying I'm on one side or the other, but I am saying we're gonna have to figure out a line to be drawn. If there's only 4 and you don't wanna put legislation in about the gardens, about the 4, then we have to figure out a way that they get policed.
I agree
Yeah,
with you
I agree.
100%.
Yeah, if they're gonna have a front yard garden, they should have regulations on how it should look.
I
Yeah.
agree.
That
Have-
should
yeah.
fall under just general guidelines for
Maintenance, yeah.
And I
for a
again,
yard.
I don't have, like I said from the start of this, I'm kinda with you as far as, I don't wanna nitpick everybody based on what the person next door said, because everybody got a problem with everybody else.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to make a law based on 4 people in the whole city. That's just kind of dumb to
Here's
me.
my thing, I think
But
there's a bigger picture here that I think we're all kind of missing. We, like I just said, we hear all the complaints. You guys get calls all the time. I get the same phone calls that you guys probably get about this house or that house. As a whole, I feel personally that our city is better off than it ever was. We have people trying to move into this city aren't even being listed on the market. They're being sold before they're even listed. People want to be a part of this community. And if it was so bad and it was so unsightly, nobody would want to move here. We'd have plenty of housing.
yeah, but are you?
I think
gotta ask in
there's-
this conversation: are you taking this as a direct negative towards you and the administration on
No,
the way
I'm
the
taking
city
it.
looks?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna take everything that's being said about the city. I do take personally.
Sure.
I feel personal. That is a personal thing to me because we are in that office. So when people say negative stuff, I take that to heart. When people say positive stuff, I also take that to heart. But there's a lot of the positive stuff you guys aren't seeing because it's not people's job to call you and say, "Oh, this house looks really nice. Look at the change. The house across the street over here was finally getting done." Like there's a lot
Oh
of
no, I
progress that
agree.
we
We get
see.
if we're getting calls, they're negative. There's
Yes.
no doubt
Yeah.
about that. But just because we have a bunch of positives doesn't negate the
No,
negatives.
and I'm not saying
So,
it does, but to focus on 4 houses
Oh,
and create an ordinance for 4 houses over something that we've been talking about
no, but
for 6 years.
if we're not going to
it-
do that, then we have to figure out a way to put
Yeah,
some
to
type
clean
of
it up.
standards for them.
And I agree, something has to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was my whole point from the start.
Yes.
I'm not saying this ordinance is it. I'm saying either way, we got to figure something.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
we discussed
you know
that
what I mean?
before, like not having corn stalks right up next to the road, or having
Well, it should be in the
But
right
you
of
should
way
also
anyway.
every
sunflower
fall.
Yeah,
seeds
should
and
not.
stuff like
Right.
that. They're
And I don't think they should have a compost out front for
I
that
know,
stuff
I
as
agree
well.
with you on
No,
that.
I would agree with that too.
But stuff
Yeah.
like that is concrete that we could put. I think a lot
Sure.
of this stuff in here is
So I think we
it
need
could
to.
be taken 20 different ways.
I think we need to start off of this and build kind of where we want to go.
Yeah.
And not give up on it, we gotta do
But
it.
yeah,
Exactly, that's what I
get
said.
it done
Like, we
And get
have
it done,
this
don't,
fall
don't let it go.
for next year.
Right,
Yeah,
don't let it go
absolutely.
like we've
Yeah,
been
but
prolonging.
I mean, again, it might not be prohibiting gardens in the front yard entirely.
But we have to regulate it.
But you're
Right.
gonna have
But
to. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
Somebody, we all could come up with an idea every week if we need to, just put it down on paper.
Yeah.
That's
and then-
entirely different than banning.
Right, I get it, but that's what I'm saying,
That's
for us to
yeah.
compromise
More
something.
understandable.
Yeah, but that's exactly why I
having-
said it. Use this as a
The
jump off
start,
point.
exactly.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be banning them entirely.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But they shouldn't be up to the street.
They
Well,
shouldn't be in the
Be up
right of
to
way,
the-
so you got
shouldn't be in the
11
right of way.
feet from the curb.
Yeah.
Right.
There shouldn't be, and some of these, like the one on Spring Street is right against, it's buckets everywhere. Like, that stuff shouldn't, it just shouldn't be.
Oh,
And these
I
people
haven't
don't
seen
tear
that.
anything out
E-
come winter.
exactly, so,
They
like-
just let it all die and then it's.
Well,
it's
that
all
could be
winter,
another
spring,
thing
it
that,
looks like
you know,
crap.
They have to take it out.
harvest, you clean and
I think
turn
we're gonna,
over
I think honestly,
turn over
if
the
we-
soil.
We're gonna have a dozen of these. So write down the ones that are important to you and bring them back and let's
Yeah,
craft an
right.
ordinance based on it. Or add it into one of our other ordinances that actually give it teeth to prohibit some of this. Not prohibit the garden in general if we're not gonna do that, but make sure that it is at least somewhat sightly.
So when does it get policed?
Well,
When
that's
somebody complains about it?
No, it's gonna be should be just one of our regular ordinances.
Yeah, well,
You know what I
That,
mean?
that seems to be the
Because it's
case,
gotta get
is things
enforced.
get policed when somebody complains about it.
that's
Yeah.
about it.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
that, I mean,
Otherwise-
and that's not just for this, I think that's true of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I mean, we drive around and we look at yards and we see this stuff. The person that's enforcing, is he gonna drive around, see that and stop and,
He does.
So
he
who's
does
a-
every
I know
day.
that.
He
Just
does
the code
every day.
enforcement,
not.
this is just up to him, or do our police officers as well do anything? No. It would
Our-
just be,
Well, in
not
this,
for something like this, right? They wouldn't
our
like,
police officers, I believe, can, but we also have the administrative violation that we can get them.
or like maybe they would not do anything like, maybe give it to the code enforcement.
if they
If
see
they
it, they
see it.
can
But what's probably gonna
refer it.
happen if we put something in place that has the regulations, what I can see Billy doing, because this is more his MO than anything, he'll take the ordinance and go to those 4 houses and speak to them and say, hey, we put this into effect, make
Right.
sure he'll be
Yeah.
proactive.
Which is
and
great.
things like
That's
that.
awesome, that's what needs done.
That's what
Yeah.
he'll do, there's
And he
only
does
4
do
of
that.
them.
Yeah.
He does do that on other occasions.
Yeah, which is great.
Anthony, I know, when Bob was safety service director, he didn't have much of a role in code enforcement. Is Anthony going to be taking more of a role in code enforcement?
No, not right now, but
Okay.
Bob did do a lot with code enforcement. He went around and there were some things where he would stop and talk to the people. A lot of the code enforcement, we try to educate and fill them in, cause a lot of people just aren't aware of some of the things that they're violating. So Bob would do that all the
Yeah,
time.
I talked to
but
Anthony the other day and he said he wants to get, he
More
does wanna
involved.
get more involved in the code enforcement.
Okay.
But he has to learn the laws.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
learning-
oh yeah,
he's
I know,
learning-
he's got a lot to learn.
spending- Yeah, he's been learning a
Yeah,
lot
but
and he's been
the-
doing
yeah.
a heck of a job
Okay.
already, yeah.
Okay.
And also, I think we need to move on something and make it effective immediately. I know we talked about this towards the end of our meetings. We gotta put something in place for these golf carts. There are too many around town. I mean, I sit on my porch all the time.
Yeah, there are a
I thought we weren't a golf cart city yet.
Yeah,
We are, it is?
The state has their
State has,
regulations,
yeah.
we just haven't put it into an ordinance, so we have it, we have to.
We have to get that done immediately, cause there's so many riding around, there's kids getting off the bus, getting on these golf carts with no plates on them whatsoever, hanging onto the back, putting on the side, I'm like, this ain't right.
And Chief he was probably gonna come to a meeting to present to council, but he wants to do somewhat, I don't wanna say our own Struthers registration sticker for license plate, but something along those lines, so he has been pulling different ordinances, to see how we can make ours, and he'll have his own checklist. So once that our officers will hand that out, make sure they're coming to get checked. But yeah, that's,
We need to do it
I'll
immediately.
talk to him.
Because, obviously, they're driving around town,
Someone's gonna get hurt.
they're going through stop signs.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for a fact, I mean, I ain't gonna mention
Someone don't
anything's
understand.
going on, but there was an accident and it was thrown underneath the table because they weren't licensed or anything else. But I ain't gonna say anything about anything. But, it needs to be taken care of immediately,
So
because
we'll just
insurance
go there.
purposes and everything else.
Yeah.
Not throwing it on the table in the city, personally, from somebody.
Okay,
The city had nothing to do with anything.
okay, I was gonna say,
The
'cause I
city
don't know
had nothing to
about
do with
this,
anything,
okay.
it was an accident on the street that somebody didn't have a licensed vehicle and hit somebody else, but they let it go.
Okay, but we didn't.
You had nothing to
Okay.
do with it.
there have been cases in other cities too, which I think is something we need to discuss. There are so many different motorized vehicles, and we have a mayor's association meeting, so I'm trying to see how everyone else is handling it too, if they have a coverall, how this is going, because you have the electric scooters, you have electric bicycles, you have, we have a guy that has a one-wheeler, there's so many different small vehicles that,
I could probably actually talk to the mayor of Geneva, maybe have him come up there,
okay,
to be honest with you, I mean, I have a lot of connections up there. I mean, they're obviously all over the place.
yeah, we
up
had
there.
2 electric bikes on the sidewalk the other, I'm like, how are they going so fast, they were
Sure.
electric bikes on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
I almost feel like we have to put like a clear, if this is there's so many different vehicles though now that I don't know how.
Side by sides, everything.
There's
I-
dirt
I don't-
bikes
And a lot
that
of
are
them like to
licensed
run
for
the stop
street.
signs.
There-
A ton of them.
I've almost hit a few people.
So do the
already.
cars.
So,
The cars too, they're
Yeah.
they're
I don't
falling right in
want,
line with
I don't
cars.
want this, getting brushed underneath the, what you call it.
All the
do you have
We
that
need
later?
speed bumps instead of
I
stop signs.
could have time tomorrow afternoon, yeah. So if we get together for that, and if everybody's on board with that,
What time do we-
I would love to see something get done with that. John, and whatever.
One other thing I'd like to hopefully maybe get done by the end of the year is a code of conduct for council.
Okay.
I know we gave a lot of papers, anything come about that at all, or?
Don't you have that?
I gave it to you guys, I don't know what to consider and add to, delete from, revise, however you wanted to. If my recollection is correct, it didn't seem like you guys were too hot on the idea. So
Yeah.
I think that's a discussion that council has to have as to whether or not it's something they want. I remember there being comments of, why are we the only ones that have a code of conduct or
Yeah.
something like that, something to that effect. So I think it just kinda
But
died.
we aren't
But there is-
administration,
I have
we are
something.
council, and I think we need something for council as a code of conduct to act properly.
Does
public.
administration have a code of conduct though?
But
This
are
one?
we responsible for them?
No,
What you mean,
but
like to piggyback off of?
I think she would have to come up with a code of conduct for her administration.
I think,
And we have policies and procedures in place even
Right.
for every single department. We don't have anything in place. We can't give council
For
acts as a
council.
group. We can't give you guys a code.
No, I
of
think
conduct.
Lori was pertaining to more if the rest of the city employees don't have it, why would we, correct?
something like that.
well, I don't think
So-
we should worry about so much. We need to concentrate about us first. May I address council?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. I was made aware of a councilman going up to Maple Crest. How do I wanna say it? Acting in, not, I don't say inappropriate,
But it's a sin.
on a political basis. So I met with Clinton, the director up there, and asked him to explain the situation that had happened. And two of his employees witnessed one of our councilmen going up there, and he thought it was inappropriate to prey on senior people up there that are not medically able to make their own decisions. So he wrote a letter to me, everybody has it, okay, and I told him that I would address it to the council. So, moving forward from this point, the way he suggested that we handle this, and I agree, if you go up to Maple Crest to push your political agenda, okay, first thing you gotta do, you gotta come to the front counter. I wanna see John Doe. So they would go to John Doe and say, hey, Mike Patrick's here to see you, you wanna see him. If John Doe says, no, I don't,
That's the
case
end
is
of it.
closed.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to just roam the halls and think that you're allowed to push your political agenda.
I would agree, but that's for Maple Crest.
It
That's
is.
not for council.
It is,
I agree
but
with
if a
that.
councilman
I understand,
acts,
but that's
But they need
Maple
to
Crest's
enforce that.
rule and for them to enforce.
and you're right, I'm just conveying the situation that's happened for everybody to keep in mind, and that's what I started getting into. So if you feel you gotta go down up to Maple Crest and push your political agenda, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the front counter. I wanna see John Doe. Okay, we're gonna go to John Doe. John Doe, there's Mike Patrick here to see you. Do you wanna see him? No, I don't. Okay? A reason for Mike Patrick to be there, John Doe may be entertained into this conversation. If John Doe says, no, I don't wanna see him, what they're gonna do is they're gonna turn you away.
Which they should.
You are not allowed to just go up there, roam the halls with your political agenda. You stop at the front counter. If you dare to see one person, you set that person's name. If that person, and they are gonna go to that person and say, Mike Patrick's here to see you, do you wanna see him? If they say no, you are to leave. Okay? You're not allowed to roam the hall. That's gonna be their policy, and I
Well,
told,
I would think that would be a policy for anybody.
And I think it should be,
I don't understand how
I
anybody's
would assume it
getting
would be a
anybody's
policy
goods.
everywhere, that's why I'm just
And
like.
Yeah, I'm
you're
at awe
right,
about.
but the
But how often does
Clinton-
it probably happen?
Clinton,
I mean, literally.
can I finish?
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So Clinton called the person in question, and the person denied it. But the fact is, two of the employees witnessed it, went to Clinton, and that's what transpired the letter to me,
Okay.
okay? So we're not doing that no more. You're not gonna go roaming the halls.
With, again, that's on them to
Right,
enforce that.
Right, I'm conveying this.
Correct, you're
So
telling
you're-
everybody
He's
here.
conveying their policy.
Correct,
Right, so
and everybody
this is-
understands their
so
Not
policy.
that we have to enforce the
But,
policy,
right,
it's up to them to enforce
Right.
the policy.
Absolutely.
You're saying that's
So-
what they're gonna do.
This is what they're gonna do. So you as a professional are not gonna go to, and go to each side of the hall and push you are to stop at the front counter, state the person's name that you are there to see. They are gonna address the person that you had stated. If that person says yes, he's allowed in, okay, you go see it. If they say no, you are to turn around and leave. And if that person pushes their agenda, I advise them to call the police and have them escorted off the property.
Sure. That's their right. They could have the person trespass from the property, and the person
Absolutely.
couldn't return.
So that is irprofessional for a councilman to go to a senior home where half the people are not medically able to make their own decision. It doesn't give you the rights to
Coerce.
coerce that.
Mm-hmm.
We all in agreement with that.
Yes.
And I told Clinton when I met with him about this, that if they refuse to leave and if they refuse to follow your wishes, the police are gonna be. So please, act appropriate, act professional, and handle yourself well,
Ricky.
okay?
Good.
These grants that are pending,
Yes.
when will we hear about them? I'm sorry.
I got one other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if everybody got, 521 Pullen Avenue.
Yeah.
It's a blue house, it's like 3 doors down. I met with Billy about it, and he's aware of it. The problem with that house, it's got a big hole in the roof, and raccoons are going in and out of it.
I talked to Billy about that in April,
521,
Okay,
don't you, ma'am?
well, it's getting worse.
right across from JR.
No, it's
Stevenson.
right down the street from me.
Right across from JR Stevenson.
Okay,
Yeah, right next.
so there's a hole in the roof. The problem there is all the family members are deceased. Okay, there's back taxes piling up on this particular house. So I asked Billy, how do we approach this house that got the hole in the roof, the raccoons, and I watched them coming in. If you went down Pullen Avenue last month, there's probably been 3 or 4 raccoons dead on Pullen
Who
Avenue.
owns the house?
Well, the county, they're dead.
Well, somebody owns the house.
They're all dead. The kids are dead.
Somewhere along the line, somebody,
Mahoney County-
somebody owns this
Sounds like
property.
it's
It
a
doesn't,
Dallas house.
Well, Mahoney County,
Maybe the
from
new
what
owner.
Billy's telling me, Mahoney County's acquiring the taxes.
okay.
What eventually is gonna happen, at some point, is they're gonna put it up for sheriff's sale.
Correct. So but until then, they're
They
taking
have-
responsibility for
They
it?
have, Billy can't find no immediate family responsible for his house, because all the kids are dead, the mother and father are deceased, or I shouldn't say dead, deceased.
So,
Cannot find no immediate family that are connected with the family that lived there.
Who'd you say is taking care of property taxes in Mahoney County?
Mahoney County.
So they should be
they're getting-
responsible for fixing it
the
then, right?
property, yeah, they're gonna get their,
Okay,
They were cutting the grass there, I know that, because it was.
my thought was, if you could force somebody to at least mitigate it so the animals aren't coming and going and there's not a hole in the roof, whatever the cost of that is can be leaned to the property.
Wait.
When it's sold at sheriff's sale, that person will get their money back, correct,
And
John?
you could, but for the city to go on that property and do that, and there's an ordinance written on this letter that if you wish to do that, you would have to basically put up for bid, right, John, to have a contractor patch the hole in the roof?
No, not necessarily, but things only have to go up for bid when they're over a certain dollar
Yeah.
figure, which is 50,000, so
So-
they
I
would
think
be
it's
under
like
that.
75 now.
75,000.
So I guess you know, just keep it in mind, we don't have to make a decision now. Under the ordinance, that if council wishes to take money out of contingent to pay a contractor to patch the hole in a roof, they would have to pass an ordinance.
I don't know that council's the governing body that would wanna do that. Couldn't, it lies in our city, couldn't we ask the county to do that, being that they're basically taking the
Take care of it.
property and gonna.
But I could tell you, in my opinion, I don't think the county's getting involved in anything. They're going to foreclose on the real estate tax, on the home for the real estate taxes, and then I assume no one's going to probably buy it at a sheriff's sale.
Maybe, you never know.
And then at that time, does it come to us? Maybe it comes to us.
I don't, cause I remember the Los Galos building, the McKinney building, it went up for sheriff's sale 3 times.
Yeah.
And they just
Well,
held on
generally,
to it.
so at sheriff's sale, generally, it goes to sheriff's, it usually goes twice. I
But,
think it went twice.
but on Los Galos, there were a couple foreclosures. What I don't know right now as I sit here is, did it ever go up for sale on real estate taxes, or was it the mortgage holder that was
Oh, I
foreclosed?
don't know.
That's a completely different story, cause
I
they
think
can't
it
just
was,
take the property.
I think it was real estate taxes.
I think it was the mortgage. But I could
Because
be
I
wrong.
think they forgave the real estate taxes
So,
when the city
go-
took it, isn't that correct?
So,
So going back,
Yes.
until it gets to that
At
point,
that point, yeah.
until it gets to that point, help me, John, if I'm, do we wanna spend the money to patch the hole in the roof to,
I don't believe so.
No,
City is not gonna get involved in, that's a private, that is privately owned, the city is not gonna get involved in that,
Why are
that's
we
my,
gonna
that
have to
would.
How
is
do
it something that we
We're
can
not a
do that
real
we
estate
could-
company, we're not a
Huh?
contracting
like
company.
we would do with windows or doors, can we board it up?
I don't know, I'm bringing this up for
But I don't know if
discussion,
we
I don't
put
know.
the street department on top of
Because
that.
it's gonna
No.
ruin that whole house
How you
eventually,
gonna
is
ask
what's
our
gonna
employees to
happen
do that?
That's
before
what I'm
anything.
saying,
That's
I
out
think it's different
I'm
than
bringing it up
a-
for discussion.
I would say no.
So just leave the hole open, the raccoons come in or not.
If you wanna, I don't think it's the city's job to do that, I don't think it's their responsibility, it's a private
you want me to
residence.
call-
We already have something on the books that would allow the city to go in and do that.
The only way I would say that if we have something, then the city must lien the property for
Absolutely.
whatever cost is incurred.
That's something that one of those, like right around the time when we were doing the public nuisance ordinances with Joey, and there was one thing we passed that would
But-
allow the city to go on and fix problems if the homeowner did.
But the city we wouldn't have our employees do it, we would
No,
contract
you'd have a
out for it.
contract.
You could do.
And then we would lien the property, so that when it was sold at sheriff's sale, the city would recoup that money,
Recoup them.
correct?
Right,
that's fine then.
I don't wanna spend our money if we're not getting it back on
Correct.
private.
right,
I feel
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
With the same token though, it's very possible that this property goes up for, and it doesn't sell, and you're not getting, cause then once
I
it
gotta
gets
be
to
honest,
that.
John, and again, not much don't sell these days.
I-
That's just my honest
hear you.
opinion.
I get you,
And you think this house could.
but I mean, if
It
there,
ain't a bad house, it's just. they
Oh,
got
no,
a
I
hole in
mean,
the
if
roof,
it's,
raccoons are coming
I
in
mean,
and
you
out.
said it's a couple houses down?
Yeah,
Who knows
It'll
what's
sell.
inside too?
It's just in that
Absolutely.
area, it'll sell.
okay. So, what and if, do we just leave the hole and let the raccoons come in and out?
If the city has something in place to contract
this
out,
ordinance
to
is,
get it
John?
bandaged up,
Did you talk to
Um,
Gordon
Piece of
about-
plywood up there or
I do
whatnot.
not.
and we are going to lean
Right,
I'm only agreeing that I'm in on saying that this should be done if the property gets leaned.
Right,
Because if
absolutely.
it's leaned at that point, I am 90% sure that the property will sell at sheriff's
It
sale.
ain't a bad house, it's
And if,
just,
when it sells at sheriff's sale, we get paid. We then
Absolutely.
recoup our money. This isn't one of those things where we lien a property, we're never gonna get the money.
absolutely,
We're gonna get the money back.
absolutely, but,
I think if you're doing something that, usually when a city is going to do something like that, it's going to do it for the purpose of benefiting the city as a whole, or at least.
Well, wouldn't want the
neighbors-
house to be tore down. We don't want the
that-
neighbors
so
to be
those are
inconvenienced.
those are the type of things.
So
that
those
I was
are,
looking
those
at.
are a good argument, but I also, this is one of those situations I would agree, most of them, we're not a contracting company,
no,
we're not a real
You
estate
get a
company, we
contractor
wanna
to-
stay out of that business.
absolutely, you
Just-
get a contractor, go up there,
Yes.
patch the hole in the roof, clean the property for
Correct,
whatever the amount is,
but keep in mind too, John,
You're gonna trap the animals.
this is, as soon as we're done, we should file to lien the property. Because if it is gonna go to sheriff's sale, if it goes in a month and we haven't filed that with the county yet, the lien is invalid, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Let's say that this property goes to sheriff's sale in a month, and we only turn our liens in through the county every 3 months, and it's not in by then, we don't get it liened. So as soon as bill is into us and done, we should immediately then lien the property.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can't be something we wait 6 months.
Absolutely.
Cause generally, I think even with grass cutting, we only lien
Every 6 months.
every 6 months. Well, this is something, the minute it's done, the
Yeah,
lien
if it's
starts.
something like this, we can probably call immediately from receiving the invoice
So-
and paying it to them.
So is it,
Yeah, this is probably a nominal amount of money to fix it, but
Right, but
still
I'm just-
city funds
We're
that
not,
we're,
we're not fixing, we're just patching it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the raccoons,
yeah.
is that
so is
something
this
you
still
wanna
considered
entertain?
private property?
It's a house.
I mean, is it considered
Oh,
private property
it's
just
private
because,
property.
well,
There's
there,
nobody that owns
no,
it.
what contractor's not gonna go on a house on private property? It's a thing unless you get permission from, like, the Mahoney County, whoever's gonna own the house.
I mean, at this
You have to
point,
go that route too.
John's saying that in our ordinance, I think we have a provision that allows us in these
It's
instances
actually
to
a whole,
go on
it's
there.
chapter 1307, it's called real property public nuisance abatement.
Also, a public contractor would go up there and do it then.
We could, yes,
Oh, okay.
We can hire a public contractor.
I am not, let me look, I'm 99%
You don't have to have an answer now, I just
sure.
brought it up for conversation.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is what's going on.
The last thing we want is the property to get so bad it gets tore down.
Yeah, right, yeah, so,
You know what I mean?
it would be in our interest
To make sure it's salvageable.
to make.
And the
Yeah.
neighbors, I mean, you really want
Yeah.
something like that, said, even though it's not our fault, has nothing to do
Right.
with us, other than it resides in our city.
And that may even fall under our demo and abatement budget line item too, I would assume it would.
So that it says, all expenses incurred by the city in connection with the abatement of a nuisance, plus a 10% charge for the city's administrative costs,
There we go.
shall be charged to and become an
that.
indebtedness of the owner of such property and may be certified to the county auditor for collection.
What was that, John, 13 what?
It's
Oh, seven?
1307, chapter 1307.
Okay. Then I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But it requires a notice, everybody's dead, you said?
it was the Hill family, in fact, the one son used to live at Yellow Creek Park for years.
Notice.
In the park,
In the park,
And leaving the
In the
notice.
cave.
I know the hills that you're talking about.
Me too.
so they are deceased, the kids are deceased. Billy had talked about, he can't find no other family other than that. So therefore, he come up with the ordinance number that allows us supposedly to make a temporary patch to prevent.
That'll work. All good.
Do you need an ordinance to get it done? Or is
Well,
it just?
No,
Let's
it's
talk
it's
about it.
operating under the ordinance.
It's operating
they said.
under the
Talk about it some more, find a contractor, you know.
I'm sure Billy, he could get a quote.
Do we
for it
need
see
to-
what we're
Do we need to call, like these guys said, do we need to call Mahoney County, hey, this house is, you know?
I can always call and just
Just
ask,
find out.
just
See
to
where
see
they're
what-
at with that?
if they run into that situation in other
Right,
places and see.
Okay, sounds good.
just,
If we don't have to spend our money,
Right.
and if they would do it.
absolutely,
If
so
they
if
would do
Mahoney County, yeah, we'll send, we got a guy on, a contract
That
on
sounds even-
file, and
Yeah.
we'll send him over to do it, and that's an option too.
There you go.
Okay,
There you go.
what do we got next?
Where are we with demoing, Los Galos?
It was in the news the last couple weeks, or
No
last
kid-
week.
No kidding.
I know, we had the bid opening, Billy and I were there with the county land bank, they're handling it, and we were there on Thursday, walked through the building with 6 different contractors. So I believe from that date, the bids were due in 2 weeks, so we're probably about a week and a half. So they were saying middle of October is
Okay.
when they're looking. Maximum amount of time is 2 weeks, but every person that was there said it should only take a week. We've already been in contact with ECMSI to manage, they're gonna attempt to work from home, but whoever gets the bid is also gonna try to attempt to start on like a Friday afternoon. That way, that's at least 3 days
Right.
that would help them. So they're gonna put up fencing and everything, which may take out more parking. So we're gonna hopefully work with Brian and see if we can utilize some of his parking just for the time being while they're there and not actually, it's a whole big thing, but
Okay.
by the middle of October.
Okay.
By middle of October, we'll have for it to be down.
Okay.
And it'll be graded and just like a gravel lot until we get the stormwater line done, and then we'll be looking to pave it, cause that'll be the only public parking we have downtown.
Good idea.
But it will be gravel at first, so it's gonna look messy until we get that stormwater
Just how it's gonna be.
completed. Well, we don't wanna pave it and then tear it up and then,
That wouldn't make much sense.
no.
Okay.
And you're gonna save the Eagle and the McKinney.
The Eagle for sure is going to be saved. The contractors had a little bit of a discussion, they're going to attempt, whoever gets the bid is going to attempt to keep the 19, McKinney and 16. If they cannot, because that will have to be hand
Right,
pulled
right.
out, there was a couple contractors that said they're not even gonna waste their time trying, cause it's not gonna come out in one piece, which is
Okay.
fine. If they cannot, whoever gets the bid, we're gonna hope to recreate that, so whatever barrier we put in the parking lot
Gotcha.
will look exactly like that 19 McKinney
Gotcha.
and incorporate the Eagle. So, they're gonna
Okay.
do their best, but there's only realistically,
Gotcha, I understand.
Paving of the streets too, like.
yes,
on
so
Dutton Street.
we just had a little bit of a delay, not a big delay, but on Bobsine Way, there was they wanted to put it's some type of, it's not a PVC pipe, but it's some type of pipe underneath the concrete where the trucks turn around, and Jason Hall and MS said that's not going to hold the truck traffic, so now they have to cast their own pipe to go underneath there, so they said it will be a little bit of a delay there. That's just for Bobsine Way. The other one should be starting soon. We're just waiting on the okay from Lindy. But that should be, they could call today and say we're starting tomorrow. So we're waiting any day now.
Okay.
Their deadline, their absolute drop deadline is Halloween. So they'll be done by then. And they said that won't be an issue at all.
Oh, okay.
But they were hoping, last time we talked about the streets, not Bobsine Way, the rest of them, they were hoping to start around the 8th. So we're hoping that's still the case.
Okay.
And then we are going to be putting our pre-application in for paving of 2026. That will be, because, and I can have MS come in and explain the point system and how everything works with OPWC so that we can hopefully score high, because this is all about scoring. So next year, we're looking at the remainder of Creed Street from Argonne to Pullen Avenue, the remainder of Lincoln from 9th to Youngstown Pullen Road, all of Grimm Heights, and all of Eve, and that's it. But that
That's
will
for
put
next
us,
year.
that's for next year. That's for next year.
Pending grants.
Pending grants. So we are in a very good place. I know I talked to you guys before when I went to DC, met with Ruley, met with Moreno. All we're waiting on is the final sign off, but it made its way through every single committee, every single process for the 800,000 for wastewater. So we are very excited about that, but until it's signed, I'm not gonna be happy until that signatures on that dotted line, but we are 99% sure we have that. The ARC grant is obviously approved for both last year and this year. We're just waiting to draw down on those because some of the projects have changed. We had to purchase some things before we had to turn it in. So we're changing a couple of those things. We've been invited for the full application for the ARC FY26. This is all wastewater. And those are all federal funding. We got the flock grant, the cybersecurity we're still waiting for, and that was from a long time ago, but they have not made any determination yet, so they haven't closed that, says September 24, but they haven't given us a yes or no yet. The flock grant, we have another one for more flock cameras in there, that was just this March. This July, we just did the one with, the tree survey and the planting and having that program that we just submitted. Sometimes it's months before because they have to analyze all of the grants that they received. The other one is Project Safe Neighborhoods. That is we just submitted last week. And then the foundations, we were denied the last call foundation, and that was for the fire department. We have one for firefighters charitable foundation, that one is pending, that was submitted. Nebo Park, that was one of the ones that we're matching up with the rest of them for the walking path, and I think the rest of them are also for the walking path. We are working on, we met with that company, for the playground equipment that I talked to you about, so they're gonna be putting a quote together, so I'd like you to look at it, when we get it, but we just met with him last week. The splash pad will be, the excavation and installation will start on the 15th of September. We have moved the location of the splash pad. We met with Aqua, they are donating their services to run the water line. We met with Rudzik, they're donating their services for the excavation. There's still a couple more people I have to touch base with, but it's going to be moved not behind the building, but if you're facing the building, off to the right. So almost in right field, there's a patch there, and it, based on where the electric, the water, the stormwater, everybody met together, and that is, we have to put it there. The problem is that it runs into hole 1 of our disc golf, but I talked to Justin Edwards, I'm meeting with him Sunday, we're just gonna move the pad so that it's not in the way, for the disc golf, so that's been avoided, cause we can't throw discs straight through the splash pad. Cause we had talked about either closing that hole.
Could be a water
when it
hazard
is-
for
Yeah, I was
golf.
gonna say, it's actually, sounds like a pretty good
I don't know if
ball.
that's the best thing, but it'll be to the right, and this way, if the hull is rented or anything is rented, that splash pad when it's in use won't interfere with that at all. It makes more sense too when we're looking down the road at future projects that we may have for behind, the hull area.
We got more stuff we can put there?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I wanna do that.
If we
Not
can get
until
grants for this stuff,
Not until I get my Nebo work done. I'm not looking at anything else.
I agree, but we're, like I said, a lot of these, we also have a grant application that's, we're gonna be submitting in 2 weeks, for a new senior van.
Okay.
And that's not on here yet, cause that'll be,
One last thing, sled riding hill. Are we gonna take that from contingent? Are you gonna put the pole in? What are we doing?
Yeah, take it from condition.
Is everybody okay with that?
What are we doing?
Which one, one in
We
Fifth
talked
Street?
about at Fifth Street Park,
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple poles with just rope,
Yeah,
so
oh,
that
yeah.
people could actually get back up the
Yeah.
hills.
That's a good idea.
We're just gonna have to make sure that we place them smart and off the hills enough that they're not gonna be a hazard to people who are sled riding down there.
Yeah.
and that's something we could take out and put back in.
Yeah, I think we need to sit down and go over, is council gonna do this as a whole, or are we gonna hire out to have it done? What our plan is, on how to attack it, that's all it was.
Can we grade the hill to make it nice and smooth for
We
sled
could,
riders?
we could.
I think it would be nice
I think
Yeah.
it would
to have
be
a designated area.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should have a
Do it
little
right
bit of
the
a
first
meeting
time,
about
yeah.
this and kind of figure out our options. Figure out which hills we have in mind, there's only like 2 or 3 there
Well,
that you're
the
really
one
gonna
at,
put it in.
there's a hill at Mickler that no, this isn't obviously this year, but they would love to have the one hill graded,
For sled riding,
not just for sled riding, more for football purposes, so they could use it as a,
running and
Oh.
exercise.
yes, an exercise thing, because it's so steep right now. We just had, a tree taken out that was in the middle of there, but even if it's graded, that would make for a longer sled riding hill as well. And obviously it's not in use, the football and cheerleaders don't use it.
I mean,
So there's
for
an
the
option there
project
too.
there, material wise, there isn't more than a couple $100. You know, but
Grading it though.
yeah, grading it, you might wanna figure out, we're probably gonna need to use an auger and a machine because there's tree roots everywhere as far as getting the posts in, things like that.
We did purchase a pull pounder this year,
Okay,
so if we need a pull pounder, we have one.
alright. But yeah,
Before
it gets too cold, yes, I agree. Anybody else, anything for this committee? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.